Welcome to the Truth and Liberty Show, where trusted leaders bring biblical insights to important issues to help you stand for truth and effect godly change in our nation and in our world.
Welcome to the Truth and Liberty Show. I'm Richard Harris, your host. Today, I want to talk about a subject that many people, in fact, millions and millions of people in America, don't want to talk about. That subject is the subject of abortion. If I were to ask you today, what is the most important issue in America? Many people would say, getting rid of Donald Trump. Some would say, cutting taxes, reviving the economy, shrinking the size of government, guns, violence, sex, transgender. I would say every one of those is important, but not a single one of those holds a candle to the issue of abortion. Roe versus Wade was overturned by the United States Supreme Court in 2022. And many of us had been hoping and praying and fighting for that day for decades. In fact, the pro-life movement was birthed after the Roe versus Wade decision by the Supreme Court in 1973. And the overturn of that case in the Dobbs versus Mississippi decision in 2022 marked what we thought, what we hoped would be the end, the victory after decades of struggle. But the truth of the matter is this, is that the overturning of Roe versus Wade was not the end of the war. In many ways, it was the beginning of the war. Since Roe was overturned, 12 states in America have expanded and in their pro-abortion, pro-choice, anti-life laws, you see, even enshrining them in their constitutions. You see, Dobbs versus Mississippi, the court said Roe was wrongly decided, but the court did not say that unborn children have a constitutional right to life. No, they simply said this is an issue for the political branches to decide. As a result of that decision, the question of abortion has fallen primarily to the states. But it's super important for us to understand as Christians, as people that believe in life, have patriots that believe in the unalienable right to life. It's incredibly important that we realize that it's not just a state's issue. This is an issue for every level of government. When the most vulnerable in our society, the unborn, the most innocent in our world, are subject to being murdered in the place where they should be the safest, they actually become the most dangerous. Do you know the womb today is the most dangerous place in the world? That's because 1 in 4 pregnancies in America end in the death of the innocent unborn child. So what happened when Roe was overturned? Well, even the prospect of the removal of so-called abortion rights put leftists into a frenzy, and they mobilized their political forces and their funding beyond even our worst fears. And they put together a campaign to attack and villainize and literally and physically attack pro-life centers, demonize candidates for political office, and they started running ballot measures at the state level, expanding abortion rights. What happened was, and then Donald Trump, candidate for president, has basically said, you know, it's a state's issue. It's not for the federal government to pass a law on. And so as a result in our country, what we've seen now, coming out of what should have been our greatest victory, we've actually seen an increase in abortion in America. Because at the same time that Roe was overturned, the federal government under Joe Biden decided we're going to no longer regulate the abortion pill, mifepristone. We're not going to enforce the Comstock Act, which prohibits its transmission through the Postal Service. In fact, we're not going to require anymore that this drug be administered only in the presence of a doctor. You could now get it, all you need is a doctor's prescription, and you can get it online in dozens and dozens of websites. Women now can get the abortion drug and they can self-administer it and they can abort their innocent unborn child in their own bathroom or in their own hotel room or in a dark alley or wherever that may be. They can kill that unborn child and flush it down the toilet, and no one knows that that child even existed. As a result, the abortion pill has now become the #1 leading tool for murder in America. It is obviously the #1 abortifacient and the instrument for the slaughter of over 1 million children last year alone in America. My guest today to talk about the state of abortion and other things is Abby Johnson. Now, Abby, you may know her from the movie that came out several years ago called Unplanned. And the movie Unplanned talks about Abby's journey as she herself had 2 abortions and went to work for Planned Parenthood, rose to the level of being a director of one of the largest Planned Parenthood clinics in America. Until that day came when she actually saw an abortion performed, an ultrasound-guided abortion. And she's going to describe for you in the interview which follows some of what she saw and the impact that had on her life. She ended up leaving the abortion industry. It shocked her heart and mind so much that she started her own ministry reaching out to abortion workers. You know, we thank God here at Truth and Liberty. I thank God personally for the progress that we have made and are making on abortion, and there are good things to talk about. Since 2020, 42 abortion facilities, according to data I saw, have closed in the United States of America. Abby is actually going to share with you a larger number than that. In 2025 alone, we had 20 clinics close. This is due in large measure to the cutoff of federal funds that has taken place under the Trump administration and through certain state regulations against Medicaid funding. Trump issued an executive order that saying that the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits federal funding of abortion, would be strictly enforced, repealing 2 lawless Biden administration executive orders. He's dissolved the Interagency Task Force on Reproductive Health Care Access, which sought to expand women's access to abortion. He stopped public education promoting abortion, including taking down reproductiverights.gov. The Department of Defense has rescinded policies that paid for travel and leave for Department of Defense employees for out-of-state abortions. He's blocked funding of Planned Parenthood under Medicaid. And internationally has readopted the Mexico City policy prohibiting federal funds, American dollars, from going to organizations that actively conduct abortion. He's also rejoined the Geneva Consensus Declaration. So Trump has done some good in his first year back in office. But the 2 things that he has not done are screaming from the rooftops. The first thing is that he has refused, the Department of Health and Department of Human Services is refusing to enforce the Comstock Act, which bans the mailing of the abortion drug, or to enforce the existing regulations requiring that it only be administered in the presence of a doctor. Second, he has refused to support federal legislation restricting abortion, saying that it's a states' rights issue or a state issue. Now, the other good news that we have is that since the overturn of Roe, 41 states have enacted abortion bans, which have either total abortion bans or restrictions on abortion. 12 states in America now have total abortion bans. 29 states have restrictions based on the gestational duration. In other words, how long has the woman been pregnant? How long has this unborn child been alive? 7 of those with gestational-based restrictions apply or ban abortion if it's less than 18 weeks gestation. 22 set the ban at some point after 18 weeks. So we have the full gamut here. And then there are 9 states in America, including and the District of Columbia, that have said we're not going to restrict abortion at all. We're going to be like China and Cuba and North Korea, and we're going to say you can kill your unborn child at any time. And then we have the abortion bill, the pill, and I've already mentioned a lot about it. But folks, I want to conclude the monologue by saying, what are you going to do? The mass slaughter of innocent human beings in America and around the world, abortion is the leading cause of death in the world. It is the human rights issue of our day, and it continues to be, and it will always be until we eradicate it. There are more innocent people killed by abortion than any government action, any tyranny, any war, any so-called genocide. This is the real genocide. You want to talk about innocent people? This is it. What are you going to do about it? It's up to you. It's up to me. I want to give you a few suggestions before we go to our interview with Abby Johnson. Number 1, are you supporting pro-life ministries? Are you donating to them? You need to be supporting them. And there are dozens of them out there. I want to suggest a couple. Students for Life, okay? Kristen Hawkins. Number 2, the Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America Fund. These two do more to fight against abortion than almost any other. Plus Abby Johnson's organization, which you're going to hear about today. Number 2, support a local pregnancy resources center. Help them minister to single mothers and people with unwanted pregnancies. Find one near you and call them today and find out how you can help. Number 3, join up with pro-life activists in your area. What's the pro-life organization in your state? Find out when they meet. Find out what they're doing. Come alongside them. Volunteer. Be a part. Number 4, do something in your church for Sanctity of Human Life Sunday. It's January 22nd of every year, so January 22nd of 2026, start preparing now. First, talk to your pastor. Ask him if he can preach a pro-life message. Second, get your local pregnancy resource center to come and have a table where people can learn more and get involved. Third, teach a class. Get equipped now and teach a class on abortion and on life and the sanctity of life. Show the movie Unplanned, Abby Johnson's movie. Plan for a guest speaker to come. These are all ideas that you can do. And one great place, as I mentioned, to help is Abby Johnson. She's got a movie coming out we're going to talk about. It's called Unthinkable. She's going to share her website. Go to the website after our show today, make a donation or invest in it, and make plans now to go watch this movie and spread the word. All right, folks. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute as I sit down and have this amazing interview with Abby Johnson, who was already the subject of the movie Unplanned and is now releasing a new film called Unthinkable. Are you passionate about standing for truth in the culture but don't know how to get started? Well, Truth and Liberty, our mission is to educate, unify, and mobilize the body of Christ to stand for truth in the public square. And as part of our mission, we provide you with an amazing array of resources on our website. And our website has just been revamped, remodeled, and retooled to be user-friendly. And I'm so excited about it because I believe that there's nothing like it out there anywhere. I want to encourage you today to go to truthandliberty.net and check out the Resources Center and the Get Equipped Center. On our Resources Center, you will find hundreds of links, hundreds of videos, articles, blogs, even America's original founding documents can be found on Truth and Liberty's Resources Center. It's searchable by topic, preset topic, or you can put in a custom search to find exactly what you need and what you're interested in. In the Get Equipped section, we link you to tools created by our strategic partners, including Pray, Vote, and Engage tools. We culture impact teams, civic action teams, biblical citizenship in modern America, biblical worldview training, and more. So go today to truthandliberty.net and find what you need to get equipped to stand for truth in the public square. All right, folks, welcome back to Truth and Liberty, and it is a distinct honor for me to have back on our show today, Abby Johnson. Abby, thank you so much for joining us here on Truth and Liberty.
Of course, I'm so glad to be here.
As I was saying before we went live, the last time I saw you was at our awards banquet last May, where you received the Samuel Adams Award, and that was just such an amazing time together. And we're so thankful for all the work that you have done and are doing, and I know it's continuing for you to stand up for the unborn and to help those who are actually workers in the abortion industry. And I was just wondering if you might share with us an update. What's been going on in your life and ministry?
So I've been pretty much full steam ahead working on a documentary that is coming out hopefully in December or January. We don't have the final release date, but it is a documentary about 36 former abortion workers. So we we went to a bunch of our clients within then there were none, and we kind of asked them, what was your worst day in the abortion clinic? Or, what was the day that made you say, I just can't do this anymore? And we named it Unthinkable. A lot of people think, oh, because we want to make abortion unthinkable. And that, while that may be true, we really named it Unthinkable because the things that are being said by these workers are truly unthinkable acts. They are things that I think no matter how long you've been pro life, no matter what you think you know about the abortion industry, no matter what you think you know that is going on inside of these clinics, um, you will be surprised. I think the level of evil that is happening inside of these abortion facilities, even inside of these referral centers, it is truly something that is unthinkable. It's almost unspeakable, but we know that light is the best disinfectant,
Mm.
and we need to get these stories out there. And it is going to be hard to watch. I know a lot of it is going to be hard to watch, but I tell people, just think of what it is to live with this.
Mm.
If you think it's hard to listen to, think about how hard it is to reimagine what you have seen over and over again.
Mm.
So I think it's very important. I think it's going to be a very important film. I think it's going to really shake up the pro life and the pro abortion movements because there's nothing been released like this before.
Wow. Well, I don't want to definitely spill the beans or anything like that, but can you give us any taste for what kind of things we're talking about here? Is it actually witnessing an abortion or other stuff or what?
Oh, so many things. A lot of stories about babies being born alive,
Mm.
and how they're, murdered after they're born alive, different, just barbaric ways. The way women are treated in the facilities, um, the humiliation that they go through, even witchcraft,
Mm.
um, different rituals that are taking place inside of the facilities. Um, I think the interesting thing about this film is that sometimes you see documentaries of people that have been in different cults or, been in kind of nefarious dealings, and you'll see them. I watch a lot of documentaries, so you'll see them, sharing their story, but their voice will be changed and they will be behind like a black screen, right? There'll be like an anonymous sort of screen over their face. You will not find that in this documentary. You see their full name, first and last name, the facility where they worked. They're calling out the names of the physicians they worked with.
Mm.
Um, there is nothing off limits in this documentary. They are talking about all the things that they experienced. They're very courageously doing so. A couple of the women, well, several of the women that we talked to, they explained how they were an accomplice to murder under the legal statute of the state that this happened. And so we had to, after the filming, I realized there could be criminal penalty for them after what they have just admitted. And so we had to go to the attorney generals in these states and say, look, this is where we are. this is what just came out in an interview. This is what we're doing. And we need to know if we put this out, if you are going to pursue
Mm.
criminal charges against them. And thankfully, the attorney generals we talked to said, no, we would consider them a whistleblower. We would not press charges. However, we cannot guarantee that if someone else got in this position, because there's no statute of limitations on murder.
Mhm.
So they said, there's no way to guarantee that another attorney general or another official would not come and press charges against them.
Mm.
And so we had to go back to these women and have a conversation with the attorneys that we had hired for them and different people from that state office and say, look, we're laying this out here for you. Here's the options. You do not have to move forward with this. You could eventually go to prison as an accomplice to murder if they decided um, to press charges. And of course, we had different attorneys for them, right? We had criminal attorneys and civil attorneys, different attorneys, and the criminal attorneys, of course, are like, I wouldn't do it.
Mm.
Wouldn't do it. It's too risky. But every single woman said, if that's what happens, and that's what happens.
Wow.
But I'm not going to hide
Yeah.
what I did, and I'm not going to hide what these babies suffered through.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm telling you, it is going to be a game changer, I think.
I don't want to say I'm looking forward to it because it sounds horrible, but at the same time, I feel like we need a big injection of reality into the pro-life movement again. There's been a real lull that has sort of come over, a sleepiness over the whole movement, over the church on the question of abortion. Dr. George Barna just released a survey showing a massive decline in the pro-life views of churchgoers in America, 20-point drop in 2 years, Abby. And I don't want to get into all of that, but I'm just going to say I think your timing is good here.
I agree, and it's interesting because we have been videoing and trying to raise money and doing all this stuff for 3.5 years. It's been a 3.5 year ongoing project,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always, you just always have to trust God in the details. And I think now is the right time for this to come out. We're still fundraising, but I think, God's going to make a way for this to happen and to have a widespread impact. I don't think that anyone who supports abortion is going to be able to watch this film and say, yeah, I'm okay with everything that they explained in this film. I'm okay with how women were treated. I'm okay with what they did to these, fetuses, whatever they want to say. I don't think anybody's going to watch this and say, yeah, that's acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
What happened in this facility. And it's really hard to call someone a liar. It's easy to call somebody a liar if they're anonymous and they change their voice and they don't use their name. That could literally be anybody behind a screen, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard to call somebody a liar when it's their face, their name, the place that they work. I mean,
Right.
it's very hard to call their firsthand experience lies.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be dealing with.
Yeah. I know as an attorney that's tried lawsuits, the more details your witness can provide that are, then the more credible that testimony becomes. Well, Abby,
Exactly.
this isn't your first film. I mean, Unplanned, which was several years ago now, but I remember there was quite the uproar over whether theaters would play it or not. And are you expecting to have that kind of resistance again, or do you think this will have wider billing?
Yeah, I don't know. It all depends on finances. So it just kind of depends on how much money we receive. Depends on investors, and you've got to have a pretty good publicity and advertising budget to get it into a widespread theater release. We had that with Unplanned. People are less interested in investing for a documentary. But like I said, nothing like this has ever been exposed. And we, I did some kind of man on the street interviewing for this documentary. And most of the people I talked to, they said they were for abortion. Um, and when I was talking to them, though, I said, I was just kind of asking some different questions. And one of the questions I asked them was, would you ever be interested in watching a documentary about people that have worked inside of an abortion clinic that decided to leave? Would you ever be interested in listening to their stories? And a couple of the people I interviewed who were pro choice said, yes, I actually I would be interested in listening to their stories because I've never heard a story like that before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really that was kind of an astute observation, right? Because if you are in sort of this echo chamber, if you will, like most of us are, right? Most of us want to hear from people that have the same beliefs as we do, and we want to listen to the opinions of those who have the same beliefs as we do. Then they're not hearing stories of people that have had this conversion, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're only hearing about how great Planned Parenthood is and how great abortion is. And they themselves, probably many of the people that I interviewed, have had abortions. And so they've never heard the other side. They've never heard about the business end of abortion. And so I thought it was pretty interesting that they said, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
would like to hear about that part of being an employee. And one of the things that we talked to people about on the street too was the suicidal ideation and the suicide attempts of people who leave the abortion industry.
Mm.
It's actually higher than combat veterans. And so we asked them, does that surprise you? And I think everyone that we asked said, no, that's not surprising.
Really?
And so when we said, why does that not surprise you? They said, well, I imagine what they deal with is really hard. I mean, just the, the actual abortion procedure, I imagine that's very difficult. Now, these were people that were for abortion, right?
Yeah.
But they imagine the trauma of working in an abortion clinic is so difficult and so devastating. They're not surprised that working in an abortion clinic would be more difficult to heal from than someone who's participated in combat.
Now, what does
So
that
it was
tell you?
just, yeah, it was just it's been a really good project to put together. I think it's going to open a lot of people's eyes. And I really hope that, yes, the pro-life movement, the general pro-life movement watches it, but I really hope that we can also get it into the hands of people who support abortion. And that's what happened with Unplanned. I mean, we had this big, wide distribution. A lot of people went to go watch it. They weren't really sure what it was about. But every single day, Unplanned was in theaters for 14 weeks.
Wow.
And every single day, of that 14 weeks, I had someone message me. I would wake up in the morning, I would, get my coffee, do my devotional, open up my email, and every single day there was an email from somebody that said, I went into your movie to make fun of it, to be a critic. My friend drugged me there knowing I'm pro-choice, and I walked out pro-life.
Mm.
And that is also the goal
Yeah.
for this documentary.
Could you take, just a few minutes, Abby, and share with our viewers a little bit about your story? You were worked in an abortion facility, Planned Parenthood. Actually, I think you became the director of the facility,
Mm-hmm.
and then you left, quit, and became pro-life. What happened? What caused that?
Yeah, there were, a few things I think the Lord was really opening my heart. Really, He was permeating the very calloused heart that I had grown since, just participating in this sinful living um, over that 8 years. But that last year, there were quite a few things happening that caused me to sort of reevaluate what I was doing. But ultimately, I ended up participating in an ultrasound guided abortion procedure where I witnessed a 13-week-old baby fight and struggle against the abortion instruments. And um, I knew then that I was not participating in any sort of choice. The child had no choice that day. Um,
Mm.
I was not. There was no reproductive justice. We kept calling abortion all these fancy names,
Mhm.
trying to get around what it really was. There was no justice there that day. It was a complete injustice. Um, it was not healthcare. Healthcare is um, healthcare is to heal,
Right.
and an abortion, every single time an abortion is successful, a unique and individual human being must be killed. And so I knew it wasn't healthcare. And so I knew that there was really only one thing it could be based on what I had seen. And I had seen this deliberate and intentional killing of an innocent life.
Mm.
And I knew we already had a word for that in our society, and it was murder. And then I had to kind of reconcile what I had done, right? Because I had already had two abortions
Mm.
in my lifetime. And then I had helped to facilitate over 22,000 abortions. And that's a really hard kind of reckoning
Yes.
to come to, right?
I
Because
bet.
then if it is murder, then I have to come to grips with the fact that I've murdered two of my own children. And that's a hard reality to accept. It's a hard thing to say out loud. And I think that's why so many women who have had abortions become pro-choice, because it's much easier to make excuses for what you have done. It's much easier to justify your sin than to say, I actually did this.
Mhm.
And I sinned against my own flesh and blood. Like, I have done this terrible thing. And so I'm going to say I was a victim. I'm going to say I had a lot of pressure put on me. I'm going to say it was in my best interest. I'm going to say I was really sick. I'm going to say that maybe there was something wrong with my baby. I'm going to make all of these excuses instead of just saying, I did one of the worst things possible
Mm.
I could do to my innocent child,
Mm.
and I killed him or her. And so it's just so much easier to make up excuses than to have to actually face the sin directly.
Mm. Well, Abby, I can't even imagine what that process of revelation was like for you. And I suspect maybe it's an ongoing one of, you know, recently I watched the film Amazing Grace, and
Mm.
it's about William Wilberforce and his fight to end human slavery or the slave trade in England. But the side character in the film is his pastor, John Newton, who wrote the movie or the song Amazing Grace and was himself the captain of a slave ship. And I just thought they did an amazing job of portraying Newton's ongoing grief over his own sin. And, but at the same time, the song Amazing Grace, God's grace is amazing. And the fact that he can forgive and transform us and bring something beautiful and good out of our darkness, that's the glory of Jesus Christ right there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the character of God,
Mm.
right? The character of God is, yes, to seek justice, but also to be supernaturally merciful.
Mm.
Merciful in a way that we can't wrap our minds around it.
Mm-mm.
We can't understand it.
Yeah.
And we have healing retreats for our former abortion clinic workers. And sometimes I think one of the most common things we hear from them is just, I don't, I can't understand Jesus because I don't understand, I can't comprehend that he would die for me.
Mm.
I can't, it doesn't even make sense,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
No, it
Like,
doesn't.
my sin is so great.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we always say, yes. even you.
Yeah.
Even you, even the abortionist you work with, even, your manager of your abortion clinic, the worst criminal you can think of.
Mm.
He died even for them.
Mm.
And so that's what we say all the time, even you. And that's so hard to wrap your head around. It's so hard to comprehend. But when you do comprehend it, and then you recognize, yes, even me, then you feel kind of foolish, or I did anyway. You feel kind of foolish for thinking God couldn't forgive me. Like, I'm so small next to God,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
My sins are so small
Mm.
next to his glory.
Mm.
What I have done is just so minute next to his grace and forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so who am I to think that my sins are too big for his forgiveness,
Well, that's interesting.
right?
That's
And
really
that's
something.
really
Because that's like,
that in a sense is like a sin of pride.
yeah, it's pride that blocks you from thinking that God could forgive you. It's still, even though you seem remorseful, you're still self-centered.
Exactly. It's like, wait a
Yeah,
minute,
that's
like,
really something.
no, like he died on a cross for me. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a great example of his
Mm.
grace and his gift of mercy to us.
Yeah.
And then I'm over here like, well, he can't forgive me for what I
Mhm.
did. Like, what? Of course he can.
So, Abby,
So yeah.
one of the things you have, and you've mentioned it a couple times, but it's something called "And Then There Were None." And I understand that this is your ministry to abortion workers, people in the abortion industry. And I'm curious if you could tell us more about that. Like, how many people have you been able to help, and what do you do for them? And like, how do you even get access to them? How does that
Mhm.
happen?
Yeah, all good questions. So we know that we've got to reach them through just, you know, being ourselves, being the people that um, we want them to know that we understand where they are, right? They think that we are the people in our ministry are people that have never really encountered abortion. We are, as white as lilies. We are just as pure as a dove. We have never experienced an abortion. We don't understand abortion. We don't understand what they're going through. We don't understand that they have bills to pay, that they're single parents, that they've lived this difficult life, that they have trauma. They think that we just can't understand them. By the way, they're being told by Planned Parenthood that we are dangerous people and that we want to harm them, right? And that we just couldn't possibly understand the life that they're living. And that is just simply far from true. And so we want to reach out to them and let them know that we do understand them, that we are relatable. Many of us who work at And Then There Were None have worked in the abortion industry. Many of us have had abortions. There we have several, people that have worked for us that were once single moms. So we get them. We relate to them. And so we reach out to them through the mail. They hear from us
Hmm.
once every 3 to 4 business days through postcards, handwritten letters. We send flowers on Valentine's Day to all the clinics, just letting them know we care about them. We're here for them. Um, maybe their boyfriend didn't send them flowers, but we are going to continue to send them flowers. Um, we send them candy. We say no tricks, all treats. If you come to And Then There Were None, we send them candy on Halloween. Just we all kinds of things. We do all kinds of fun little gifty things. We sent a scratch off one time into all the clinics, kind of like a lotto scratch off. We sent them a scratch off, and it was like, scratch here if you have, um, if your clinic has failed to report statutory rape. Scratch here if you have had a patient with a uterine perforation during an abortion. So it was all these terrible things,
Mm.
right? Like, scratch here if your clinic has failed an inspection report. So all these different things. And it was like, if you get a winner, then email us and we will send you a gift card, like an Amazon gift card. And surprisingly, we got quite a few clinic workers emailing us saying, "I'm so sorry to report, I got a bingo," or whatever. Like, I got a scratch off. I got a winning scratch off card, and we were able to get into relationship with these workers, and they ended up leaving.
Wow.
Because they just said, "I didn't realize how bad it was here until I got your scratch off card, and I could scratch off almost the whole card."
What an amazing
Um,
strategy.
yeah, and so, we've just done funny stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
one December, we sent in, air freshener thing that they can hang from their car, but it had my face on it. So it was like, smell the freedom of quitting the abortion industry. Abby will help you
Uh,
leave. And it was just kind of funny. So he's in funny stuff. We have a team of older ladies that write handwritten cards to the workers. That's actually our most powerful ministry.
mm,
Knowing that, I'm a Southern girl, so I grew up. If you get
a note.
a gift, you
Yeah.
better send a handwritten thank you note. And so, I just thought we're going to start sending handwritten notes, just telling these workers that we care about them and we're here for them. That has been the most powerful ministry because there's something about receiving a note that's not typed. It wasn't printed from some big printer. Some person sat down, took the time, and wrote these notes. And, they're all blessed. They're all prayed for before we send them out. And these workers receive them. They tuck them into their pockets, and they put them in their purses and they keep them. Sometimes they keep them forever. I received a handwritten note when I worked at the clinic and I keep it in my wallet. It's still in my wallet. And I've been out of the industry for 16 years. But it meant so much to me. Like, I still keep it in my wallet and look at it every once in a while. Our job is to make heaven crowded.
Hmm.
And we want to bring every single one of these women and men into a relationship with Christ. And so that's a victory for us. Many times when they leave, they they know a lot of information about, the illegal dealings, kind of this clandestine environment that they've been working in. And so we're then able to connect them with lawyers in the Thomas More Society who are able to then take on a pro bono case
Mhm.
with these workers. And because of that, we've been able to shut down 56 abortion facilities where
Wow.
these workers once worked. Yeah.
56. That is astounding. Oh my gosh. Because I was looking at some stats on how many abortion clinics have closed in the last few
Mhm.
years, and the number wasn't even that high. So that's amazing, Abby. Well, I know we're up against some time constraints here. We want to honor that, but can you share with folks, number one, where can they learn more about Unthinkable, the new film that's coming out? Maybe reserve tickets or any other way to engage. Sounds like you need financial backers, so if maybe they
Yeah.
want to do that, how can people connect with you about the movie and anything else that you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So if people want to know more about Unthinkable, they can go to Unthinkable Doc, DOC, like documentary, unthinkabledoc.com. Our short little teaser trailer is up there on the website. They can check that out. Certainly, there's places if you're interested in investing or donating, you can click those there. We'll be happy to get back to you. If you want more information about, and then there were none, the ministry that I run, and you can hear testimonies of workers who have left. I think they'll really bless you. And we're, of course, on social media, all over social media. You can sign up to be on our listserv as well. That website is prolove.com, and you'll be given it's a landing page, and you'll be given an option to either go to and then there were none, or you'll be given an option to go to Loveline. Loveline is the other ministry I run that helps women who are in crisis pregnancies choose life. And it's a case management ministry. And we have a very successful program running. Less than 2% of the abortion determined women that contact us actually go through with an abortion. It is the lowest abortion rate of any ministry I've ever encountered. Most pro-life ministries have something like a 10 to 15% abortion rate, and ours is less than 2. So I think it matters when you have former clinic workers working with these abortion determined women, because we can literally say to them, we know what's going to happen in that abortion clinic room.
Mm.
We know what's going to happen in that abortion clinic. We know what's going to happen to your baby. And I think that makes just a heck of a lot of difference
Mm.
for these women that are considering abortion, that we can give them the real truth of what's going on in these clinics and what's going to actually happen to them and their children.
Well, Abby, do you have time for just a couple more questions for me?
Sure.
I'm interested in the abortion pill debate, and it's
Mhm.
the most frustrating thing because of our victory in Dobbs and winning, getting Roe overturned. But then at the same time, the next thing we see is the deregulation of the abortion pill and how it now is the leading agent or method of abortion,
Mhm.
and women are just killing their babies at home on the toilets and in hotel rooms, and they're being harmed. Not to mention, we still have last year had over 1 million abortions in America that we know of.
Right.
What can we do about the abortion pill? What can the average person do? Do we need to be calling our congressman, calling the president? I mean, what should we do about this?
Yeah, this is of particular concern because of all the things that you said. I mean, it's now available in all 50 states. You can go on over 70 websites. You can put in any name, any date of birth. A man could do it. A man could put in a fake name, fake date of birth. They don't check ID. They don't verify ID. They don't care how old you are. They don't check to make sure that you are the age you say you are. Um, and now we have cases where, men are dropping these pills into their girlfriends' drinks. Um, and the women are essentially miscarrying their children, but it's through these abortion pills. Um, they don't care if you are actually pregnant. You can get them and stock them up. In fact, that's what they're calling for. They're calling that you get these pills and stock them up in your medicine cabinets in case you do get pregnant. They don't verify that you have an intrauterine pregnancy. You might have an ectopic pregnancy. And if you have an ectopic pregnancy and you take these pills, you could die. Um, it's a hard one because um, a lot of this could have been stopped by our current president.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he instead reaffirmed the Biden administration's decision to allow these chemical abortion pills to be sent through the mail in all 50 states. President Trump could have stopped that. He didn't. He just reaffirmed Biden's rule. Um, Now we see the FDA recently, like a week and a half ago, then has come up with a generic form of the chemical abortion pill RU46, which is actually the pill that kills the baby. That is something that President Trump could have absolutely put a halt to. Um, but he did not. So now not only do we have, you know, abortion, chemical abortion access in all 50 states, now we have a generic form of the RU46 pill that's coming out, which is the most expensive part, actually, of a chemical abortion procedure. Right now, it's made by Danco Laboratories. Each mifepristone pill costs about $80. So if the generic comes out and then that generic pill only costs $1, well, guess what? Now, you know, chemical abortion may only cost something around $10.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it even more affordable to women who want to have the abortions. It means that people who are handedly funding abortion, people like Warren Buffett, are going to have to give, less and less money to fund abortions. Now they can give more and more money to other population control efforts that they want, like euthanasia, physician assisted suicide. It frees up money for abortion to go to other um, I mean, I believe demonic um, efforts. So it's not good. I mean,
Yeah.
what's happening is not good, and the administration is not helping us to curb what's going on. Uh, you know, we can try, we can try over and over again to do our best to sort of regulate these pills, but there's really no way to regulate them. Many of them are coming from international sources. There's nothing that we in the United States, there's nothing I can do to stop China from sending chemical abortion pills over here. People say, "Oh, we need to find, the delivery carriers like FedEx or USPS or UPS." Well, they don't know what they're carrying. They don't know that they're carrying chemical abortion pills. They're just given a package and they're delivering it. So, eventually, and this is something hard that the pro-life movement is really not ready to deal with. Um, well, eventually, we're going to have to deal with the consumerism of abortion. 64% of people taking having an abortion are doing it through chemical abortion pills. And for a long time, the pro-life movement has said, well, we need to go after the abortionists. We need to go after the abortionists, not the women having the abortions, but the people that are actually doing the abortions themselves. Well, now 64% of the people doing the abortions themselves are the mothers.
Mm-hmm.
They are the women themselves.
Yeah.
That is who is actually procuring the abortions for themselves. And so, but then if you say to the pro-life movement, many of the leaders in the pro-life movement, okay, well, then I guess we need to go after the women that are actually procuring the abortions. They will say no, because they're victims. And I don't believe that to be true.
Mm.
I believe that women are of sound mind. I believe women are capable of making a sound decision.
Mm.
I believe that women um, are strong enough. I believe they are capable enough to make an informed decision on their own. Every single person I know has something that looks like this, a smartphone with information at their fingertips. 60% of women who have abortions have already had a child. We are not dealing with an ignorant group of women that do not know what a baby is. Every woman that has an abortion knows that she's carrying a baby. Long gone are the days where people say it's just a clump of tissue or it's just a mass of, tissue or something. Everyone knows that they're pregnant with a baby. Everyone knows that abortion kills a baby. I go on college campuses across the country and speak to young people, a lot of young people who have had abortions. These women say to me, I know it was a baby. I know I killed my baby.
Mm.
I just wanted to finish school.
Mm.
And my desire to finish school trumps the life of this child. Um, okay, well, that's not a victim,
No.
right? She decided that her right superseded the right of her child to live.
Yeah.
And that's not a victim. Now, are there some women who are truly victims? Yes, of course. There are a very small percentage of women who are being trafficked, who are being held under extraordinary force to have an abortion, but those cases are very few and far between. And so I think eventually in the next 2 years, they expect that over 80% of abortions will be done through pills. And so the pro-life movement is we're going to have to eventually sit down, and I'm hoping to kind of do this in the next year or so, sit down with people in the pro-life movement, leaders of the pro-life movement, and say, okay, we have to come to an agreement here. And we have to stop saying that all women that have abortions are victims, because they're not. We have to come to a consensus where we say someone has to be held accountable for over 1 million abortions. And it's not doctors that are doing this anymore.
Hmm.
There are actually fewer and fewer brick and mortar abortion facilities across this country.
Mm.
I expect in the next 5 years, we'll probably have fewer than 100 because everything is going to be done online. And then what? And so I think we are going to have to start having those very honest conversations, but it is going to be a paradigm shift in the pro-life movement because if you ask a regular pro-lifer, um, if somebody asked me, I have a 6-year-old son, if somebody's, if I said, well, I'm gonna kill my 6-year-old son because my husband said to me, if you don't do it, I'm gonna kick you out of the house
Mm.
and I'm gonna cut you off financially. If I ask a group of pro-lifers, "Well, is that enough? Would you let me off if I killed my 6-year-old?"
Yeah.
I mean, he was pressuring me, he was coercing me. He told me, "I'm not gonna have a home to go to, and I'm not gonna see my kids again, and he's gonna take away my access to funds." Should I then be given the permission to kill my 6-year-old? Every single pro-lifer you talk to would say, "No, absolutely not." Like, there's other places you can go. There's places that you right? That would be the answer from every single pro-lifer.
Mm.
But if I said to them, "This woman who's 6 weeks pregnant, her boyfriend's gonna kick her out of the house. She's not gonna have access to any funds. Her parents are not gonna accept her back into the home because she's pregnant outside of marriage. She has no" people are really pressuring her. A lot of people would say, "Well, she's really a victim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I understand why she's having this abortion." Well, it can't be both, right?
Mm.
Either we see children in the womb as the exact same, with the exact same dignity and inherent dignity and worth, and the exact same human rights as we do a child outside of the womb,
That's it.
or we don't.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the basic conversation that we've got to start having with people.
Wow, that's profound. Absolutely profound. And so maybe this whole abortion pill situation is an opportunity for us to really get back to the root of the matter and begin to disciple this nation on the sanctity of human life, and forget about wrestling about all these legal niceties and get the nation to repent. Abby, well, I know that you pray over this all the time, and this has been a very moving interview for me personally. We really do need repentance as a nation, and God is our only hope. So, but I want to just thank you for coming on Truth and Liberty today. Wish you all the best. Hope that this movie is a smashing success, and everybody needs to go check it out. Again, the website is unthinkable.com, and
Yes.
And go check that out. Send Abby a check today, folks. Let's help this movie, okay? God bless you and your family, and thanks again for coming on Truth and Liberty.
Thank you so much.
And everybody, we'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching.